another lesson on coastal erosion. We're going to study about erosional landforms. So let me just write down the title. Last lesson, a quick recap, we learned about 4 types of coastal erosions. And the 4 types were abrasion, attrition, solution, and hydraulic action. If you don't remember, please go watch that video, but I'll just restate the definitions here. Abrasion is when the rocks that are already in the sea clash back onto the coastline. The rocks clash onto the cliff face and dissolve and erode part of the cliff face or the coastline away. Attrition is when 2 rocks that are already in the sea clash into each other. Sediment in the sea clashes into each other and wear each other away. The 2 rocks become smaller and smaller. Solution is when the rocks in the sea get dissolved by the seawater because the seawater has acidity in it. A seawater is made up of salt, other stuff, and also water. So the salt and other stuff have acidity. So the rocks get dissolved into small pieces and become part of the ocean. Become part of the sea. Lastly is hydraulic action. This is when waves have enough energy, they push their way into cliff faces and coastlines, and they therefore form cracks inside the cliff faces that trap water and air. These cracks expand over time because more water and air will find their way through these cracks and expand the cracks. Then parts of the cliff face or coastline just fall off into the sea, so that erodes away. So now that we've done a quick recap, hopefully you guys are clear of what we learned about last lesson. Today we're going to look at 2 types of erosional landforms, bays and headlands. But firstly, what are erosional landforms? So erosional landforms are landforms that, have been through the process of coastal erosion. So basically any coastline that you could see has probably been through a process of erosion, unless it's recently man-made. Like maybe it was man-made yesterday or something, like a construction finished just yesterday. But otherwise, as long as it's a natural coastline, it should have been through some process of coastal erosion. So there are 2 types of erosional landforms, right? Headlands and bays. And the 4 types of coastal erosion we learned about last lesson form headlands and bays. So essentially, what are headlands? Headlands are parts of the coastline that jut out into the sea. And bays are, the beaches we go to, the part that goes into the land, parts of the coastline. So notice that headlands and bays are all part of the coastline. You can say that this entire coastline consists of headlands and bays. So the formation of headlands and bays are by a coastline. So let me just draw a quick diagram. A coastline. So this is the sea, which looks pretty nice, I guess. It's blue anyway, so we can recognize this is the sea. Let's draw the coastline. So this is gonna be from a bird's eye view. So we're looking it's like we have a drone machine, we're looking down from the top to bottom, or we're like a seagull and we're looking down from the top to bottom, and this is what we see. So we see this let me use a color. So we see this cliff, this entire cliff over here. And this is all part of the coastline because it's really, really close to the coast. So this is all part of the coastline, and let me highlight the coastline. This is around the coastline. So coastlines split into hard rocks and soft rocks. Like the cliffs are made up of rocks, right? Like mainly. Well, they're probably made up of other stuff, like there's trees on the cliffs and etc. But mostly the cliff is based off on rocks. And there's different types of rocks. Different types of rocks have different hardness. Like for example, rocks like say, I don't know, rocks like chalk might be harder than other type of rocks like clay. And if we have an alternating landform, for example, let me just draw this in red. So this is not going to happen in real life. I'm just drawing this in red to separate the lines. In real life, when you look down from a helicopter or something onto the cliff face, you will not see these red lines, okay? But here I'm just drawing them. So this is a red line, this is a red line, this is red line, this is a red line. So the coastline is separated into parts. And if we are lucky enough, we have alternating parts of rocks. For example, this can be the part with hard rock. This can be the part with soft rock. This can be, again, the part made up of hard rocks. And this is made up of soft rocks again. And this is made up of hard rocks again, so on. Now, hard rocks take longer to erode, and soft rocks take shorter time to erode. So soft rocks erode faster. So this means that when the ocean goes up onto the coastline, when the sea goes up onto the coastline, after say tens and thousands of years, the first part to erode would be the soft rock parts. So let me just demonstrate that erosion over here. Wait, what did I just do? Okay. So let me just demonstrate this erosion. Like this. And the hard rock obviously also erodes, but it just erodes a little bit, not as much as the soft rock. So it erodes obviously, but it only erodes a little bit. It does not erode as much as the soft rock will do over here. So now basically what we have are the bays and headlands, because headlands, the definition of headlands, are part of the coastlines that jut out into the sea. And okay, so water will obviously fill these regions. Like water will fill this part and fill this part. And there might be some sand over here, like the beaches we see, like there might be some sand over here for, yeah. And we have our bays and headlands. So this part is called a headland because it jets out into the sea. This part is called a bay. This is another headland. This is another bay. This is another headland. Now in real life, we probably won't have that much headlands and bays going on and on, but most times when you go to beaches, a beach will at least go sometimes will at least have some inward trend, right? So the beach you go to is often referred to as something bay or something like that. So that's that. And there's many, so now let's talk about the features, some features. There's many features of headlands and bays. Firstly, as we've already talked about, headlands are made up of hard rock and they erode slower. And secondly, they have high relief. So what this means is that, so relief basically means altitude over here, or height, like above sea level. The height of these lands. Like the headlands here are often cliffs or mountains. They're not that often beaches, because if they're beaches, they would be eroded away really quickly. Like sand is really relatively easy to erode away compared to hard rock, right? So these are usually cliff faces with hard rock, made of chalk or something. So they have high altitude because, well, cliffs have high altitude, right? The rocks stack up together and they form mountains or cliffs. And however, opposing that is bays. bays have low altitudes. They have low relief. So they have low relief. They often they're formed of softer rocks, and they might or even sand. So they have so these bays are often made up of sand, which is why most beaches we go to are part of bays, not part of headlands.